Welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Adventures podcast here on Brownfield. I'm Brent, Barnett, and this week we're heading off to Missouri. We're talking with Tricia Burkhardt, Executive Director of the Missouri Conservation Heritage Foundation. Tricia, thanks so much for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Brent. I'm doing great and love to chat with you about the stuff that we've got going on.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it. There's a lot to get to. We want to learn about the foundation. I know we're going to talk about youth archery with some tournaments coming up in 2025. That's going to be a great conversation. Let's learn more about you and your background. Tell us more about Tricia Burkhardt.
All right. So I am the executive director of the Missouri Conservation Heritage Foundation, which you mentioned, and I've got an interesting background. I'm an animal science and agriculture journalism degrees from Mizzou, go Mizzou. And so I kind of got into shifting a little bit in my career to get into working for a nonprofit, which again I have a lot of marketing and communication background, shifted over into fundraising, and I actually love it. I think it's fantastic. And there's a lot of connections you may not think between agriculture and conservation. And again, I feel like farmers are the ultimate conservationist. Plus, we have the fun stuff, the outdoor fun stuff that we also get to focus on to get people outdoors more.
Let's learn more about some of your mission and goals with the foundation and some of the projects that you're currently working on.
So we've got lots of different projects. We are the support foundation for the Missouri Department of Conservation, but we are nonprofit. We are totally separate. We are run by an independent board, volunteers that from all across the state, and a lot of different variety of things that we work on, including regenerative agriculture. We're certainly interested in that from a perspective of soil health and clean water, because if your soil is good, it can help absorb runoff and before it gets to the rivers. And all of that not only helps farmers, it helps citizens of the state, and it also helps wildlife. And of course, that's very important to us from that perspective. We're all interconnected. So we feel like that's a big initiative that we have. Clean water, of course, is a big initiative. We are actually working with the University of Missouri and Missouri Department of Conservation on a institute. It's called the Johnny Morris Institute of Fisheries, Wetlands, and Aquatic Systems. And that's a big initiative that we're raising money for as well. So again, clean water affects us all. And if you like to go fishing, if you like to drink water, if you like to duck hunt, well, that's an area that we also care deeply about.
Do you feel when you're, in contact with a lot of these farmers and producers that they're very receptive to the message, and we're seeing more and more farmers adopting some of these practices to help benefit soil health?
Certainly, they certainly are learning more about warm season grasses, for example, which have deep roots. And again, you can graze that, you can cut it for hay. There's lots of different varieties. When you have a mix of cool season grasses and warm season grasses, you can meet the needs of your pasture lands. And we feel like that's a great mix. Plus, most farmers like to hunt and fish. So again, it kind of goes full circle here if you kind of are receptive to some of those things.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because we've had a lot of hunters on this podcast, and I'd say the majority of them farm or have a farming operation. So that definitely makes sense, no doubt.
Well, they're feeding them corn too, so I get it, and soybeans.
Yep, and get some food plots in there, and all the stuff, no doubt. So you mentioned youth archery. Excited to dive in more because you have the Missouri National Archery in Schools program state tournament coming up in March of 2025. Tell us more.
Yes. So the National Archery in the Schools program, and of course, Missouri's in front of it, and it's a nationwide program. But in Missouri, it's very large. We're a little bit behind Kentucky, unfortunately, because they started the program. But that's okay. We'll get there. But the program is great because it's very inclusive for kids, and it's for youth ages 4th grade through 12th grade. So wide range, and you got different divisions, of course, elementary, middle, and high school. And we have kids. You don't have to be a star athlete to compete in archery. And you've got these fourth graders who were standing next to a really tall 12th grader, and they're shooting at the same time because everything is the same. Your bow that you're shooting with, the arrows you're shooting with, there's no equipment advantage. It's really just the skill, and of course it's open sights. It's basic archery that we're teaching these kids, and we're trying to teach them a lifelong sport as well. So again, you can carry this through until you're 80 or 90. It doesn't really matter. And to teach that, I think, is also to teach the discipline and the focus that is needed to help these kids excel in school. We've seen through surveys that these kids are doing better in school because they have learned that discipline, that focus, that methodical. I've got another arrow. I can't just get upset because I missed or I didn't shoot as well. Well, you've got another arrow. It's perseverance. It's a lot of those things that is a great thing to teach. And we've seen kids shoot that have missing limbs. We've even had a kid shoot from releasing from their mouth because they had mobility issues in their hand. So there's a lot of variations, and I think it's just a great way to get more kids involved, again, to get them in the sport, but then also potentially transition into outdoor activities too.
What a great opportunity. I would have loved to have been a part of something like this when I was growing up. What kind of participation do you see in Missouri? I imagine you have kids from all across the state.
Oh yeah, there's over 800 schools involved. Not everybody goes to the state tournament, of course, but it's taught in the schools. You have to go through a training program, and really it's driven a lot by the coaches or the PE teachers, if you will. They have to teach it in class. It's very safe. I know you think of arrows and you might think, oh my goodness, no, it's very safe. It's everything is very, like I said, disciplined. They go by whistle commands to be able to shoot and do all that. And so over 100 schools, but then there's at the state tournament, we had about 4,000 kids compete across the entire state. So, and again, I would say probably kid like over the entire state that may not go to the state tournament. We're probably looking at over, I'd say 70,000 kids that are, involved one way or another in archery. So it's great.
That's fantastic. Where does the support come from to help put all of this together?
Yeah, so the Missouri Department of Conservation really spearheads this program, and they offer grants for new schools to get it in their school, and they provide the basic archery instructor training. And you can work with the Department of Conservation to get grants. And excuse me, and if you're an existing school, they do have grants, after you've been established for a couple of years to update your equipment, for example. So that's one great way. And the foundation also helps put money into the program to help support these grants. And MoNASP also puts money into these grants too. So we've got a lot of support, a lot of people that are interested in getting more kids involved.
I'd love to hear more about the location. So this will be taking place, looks like March 19th through the 22nd of 2025 at the Branson, Missouri Convention Center. So Branson, a very popular tourist type attraction in Missouri. I've been there plenty of times as a kid. That was kind of our go-to vacation spot growing up with our parents. So why was Branson selected as the site location?
So we've been in Branson for many years, but every so often we have to explore other options, of course, just to make sure. And we went back to Branson because honestly, I heard this last year. A kid that was being interviewed said, "I feel safe in Branson." And to me, that says a lot. And it gives these families an opportunity to do a side adventure, if you will. They shoot, and they're only shooting for an hour. There's 3D and bullseye, but anyway, I won't get into all that. But so then when they're done, they can go out to eat. They can go have fun at some of the attractions. So it's and of course the cost is reasonable in Branson. The hotel rooms are reasonable. More so compared to other areas of the state. And, Branson has really welcomed us with open arms as far as working with us on many different, creative ways, again, to come together. So I love that from that perspective. And
that's a pretty popular region of the state when it comes to outdoor activities, right? I mean, when you look at Table Rock Lake is there, and just the overall landscape of that area.
And Lake Taneycomo, you can go trout fishing, you can go to Table Rock. And of course, you've got all of the Johnny Morris properties, with Bass Pro properties, Top of the Rock, and all of the different things. I know you got to drive a little bit, but again, it's such a rich area, beautiful area, of course, fantastic, and the people are so nice. And I also wanted to mention, I'm going to circle back a little bit. So we help host the tournament with the Department of Conservation, and in addition to that, the funds raised from this event go back to youth, sports, hunting, fishing, archery, and other conservation programs. And we also give $30,000 in scholarships away each year. This past year was the first year we did 30. The year before we did 20, but $30,000 in scholarships for these kids to be able to use it any further education. It doesn't have to be a 4-year degree, and we really love to be able to support these kids who are working really hard in this sport.
I think it's a great program that you're a part of there, getting kids interested and involved in archery. I really wish I would have done something like that when I was a kid, because I've been shooting a bow since I was just a little guy, and still to this day, and hoping to pass that on to my kids as well. Let's learn more about another opportunity you'll have in 2025, Tricia, because sounds like you'll have a regional tournament for surrounding states, right?
We do. We actually host by ourselves the Border Wars Archery Tournament. And last year, for the last 3 years, we had it in Kansas. Again, we're trying to reach out and invite all the states around us to participate, the kids that are involved in NASP, and give them an opportunity to go to a tournament to help prepare them for their state tournaments. And that will be in Jefferson City in 25, and that's over President's Day weekend, that Saturday and Sunday. I don't have it right in front of me, but over President's Day weekend. And it's just a great way to get a lot more states involved and have that higher competition where you've got kids from all over. They're not just shooting against their classmates or kids that they know from a school nearby. So it's kind of a fun get together.
I've never been to one of these youth tournaments like you're talking about. Just to give the listeners an idea, obviously, I'm sure the kids are having fun, having a blast. Is there a level of competitiveness that we see at these tournaments too? Are the kids really competing to take the top?
They are definitely competing, especially at the state tournament level. When you've got these kids who are, spent so many hours shooting and practicing, they're definitely in the zone, if you will. And I love that it's a very quiet sport. If you've never seen this before, parents aren't yelling and all that. I mean, it's you don't do that because you don't want to break their focus. But a very quiet sport, but you love to hear the sound of the arrows hitting the targets. That's kind of a fun thing. And I also wanted to mention too, the confidence that these kids get from, I guess, standing up and having to perform is you can see that in these kids too. It's a great, I've, a couple stories of that too, where this one girl was like, I can't do this. Well, her coach said, just keep trying. Well, she ended up winning like state. And she went on to nationals and things like that. So you can go on from the state level to national, and then there's an open competition as well. So there's many opportunities to basically get money, win money and scholarships.
That's great. If anybody would like to help contribute, is that a possibility?
It is, definitely. You can go to our website, mochf.org, and we've got a donation link, and there's also information about the state tournament that you can learn more about and see videos of highlight videos, if you will, so you can kind of see. And there's also 3D portion of it too. There's 2 tournaments at the same time. And the 3D, bullseye is just bullseye, what it sounds like, but 3D is where you're the grouping is a little tighter, and you're shooting at a plastic animal, if you will, that looks like that. So it gives another level of competition for the kids.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, again, thank you so much for coming on the show here, Tricia. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Brent. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Again, that's Tricia Burkhardt, Executive Director of the Missouri Conservation Heritage Foundation. We thank you for watching our program here on Brownfield and the Outdoor Adventures podcast. I'm Brent Barnett with Brownfield Ag News, and we'll catch you again next week here on Outdoor Adventures.